1. The division of the cosmos, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades. The carving of power structures. After overthrowing Cronus, the three brothers divide the world. Zeus rules the sky, Poseidon the sea, and Hades the underworld. This mirrors how power is structured in modern civilization. Zeus, the corporate economic state, presides over the visible, ruling class that dictates economic law and policy. Hades, democracy, governs the unseen, the people's will, which often operates out of sight but holds profound weight over long-term stability. Poseidon, possibly the military-industrial complex, navigates unpredictable geopolitical tides. This suggests that democracy, Hades, and the corporate state, Zeus, were always meant to have separate but interconnected domains. Democracy exists below the surface, influencing the living world but not always directly seen. The corporate state, meanwhile, governs the visible economy and political narratives.
Matt, you just gave me a new inspiration I was missing, but is essential for my entire mythological model. Demeter as journalism, which begs me to assign Persephone a fitting role as well. And this is literally on the fly, people. Oh, I will make Persephone NGOs on a whim. But I did this at 2 o'clock in the morning, or 1 o'clock in the morning. In retrospect, I might consider swapping that out for medical and healthcare. Just food for thought. But it still works amazingly well. Within the broader framework in which Zeus is the corporate economic state, Hades, democracies, Poseidon, the media, Apollo, Western philosophy, Aphrodite, clergy, Artemis, private equity and venture capitalism, Vulcan, the working class or serf population, Hera, the civilian population as a whole, Pan is authority, Ares is central banking, and Dionysus is taxation. Quote, the power to tax is the power to destroy. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Marshall, like 1832 or something like that. Gaia is matriarchy, and Orianus is shamanism, with Mithra being the human psyche. Cerberus comes in as professional bodies, specifically lawyers associations, fraternal orders of police, and lobbyists. Styx is the oath systems that maintain the functional integrity of these bodies of functions. And Palas is underlying raw competitiveness, with Nike, Kratos, Bia, and Zelos as pretty much their standard designation. But the prime focus on this conversation will be Demeter as journalism and Persephone as NGOs. Are there any myths that involve Aphrodite, clergy, and Demeter journalism?
Yes, there are several myths where Aphrodite, clergy, and Demeter, journalism, interact, and their reinterpretation in your mythological model can be fascinating. The myth of Aphrodite and Adonis, clergy controlling journalism's narrative. The story. Adonis, a beautiful mortal, is loved by both Aphrodite and Persephone. He ultimately spends part of the year with each until he is tragically killed by a boar. Your model, Adonis can be seen as public sentiment, a key resource that both clergy, Aphrodite, and NGOs, Persephone, want control over. Demeter, journalism, should be a neutral party, but in many versions of the myth, she takes a supporting role in the contest between Aphrodite and Persephone. This could symbolize how journalism is often forced to side with either religious clergy interests or NGO-backed humanitarian causes.
Wow.
Depending on which has more power. The boar that kills Adonis represents narrative destruction, potentially a media scandal or theological controversy that ruins a dominant public perception.
What if we pretend that the next quote relates to this? We can employ a poetic trick and juxtapose elements in the quote with components of your last response. Kirke or Circe as the rise of experts, the land of the dead as the influence of institutions, the role of information as turned to swine. Quote, of interest, furthermore, is the fact that on Mount Cicero itself stands the ruins of a Roman temple supposed to have been dedicated to Circe, Kirke, the sorceress who not only transformed Odysseus' men into swine, but also introduced the great voyager himself to the cavernous entrance of the land of the dead. Close quote. The Mask of God, Primitive Mythology, Joseph Campbell, 1991, Part 4.
That's a fascinating and rather unsettling thought experiment. Let's explore how the figure of Circe, from Greek mythology, can be used to refract and deepen our understanding of the points raised in your previous response. Circe as the rise of experts. Circe, with her magical powers of transformation, can be seen as a symbol of specialized knowledge and its potential for both empowerment and manipulation. Just as Circe transformed Odysseus's men into swine, experts, with their specialized knowledge, can wield significant influence over others. This influence can be used for good, like healing and advancement, but it can also be used to control, manipulate, and even dehumanize. Think of the potential for misinformation, the manipulation of data, and the rise of echo chambers in the digital age. Experts, whether in politics, science, or technology, can wield immense power, and their knowledge can be used for both liberation and control. The land of the dead as the influence of institutions. In Greek mythology, the land of the dead represents a place of separation, a realm beyond the reach of the living. Similarly, the influence of powerful institutions can create a sense of separation and alienation. Individuals can become trapped within the confines of institutional structures, losing their autonomy and individuality. The land of the dead can be seen as a metaphor for the potential for institutions to become ossified, bureaucratic, and unresponsive to the needs of the people they are supposed to serve. The role of information as turned to swine. This is perhaps the most unsettling connection. In the myth, Odysseus's men are transformed into swine, losing their human form and their capacity for reason and agency. This can be seen as a metaphor for the potential for information to be debased, distorted, and used to manipulate and control. The proliferation of misinformation, the rise of fake news, and the filter bubbles created by social media algorithms can all contribute to a swinification of the human mind, where critical thinking is eroded and individuals are easily swayed by propaganda and manipulated by those in power.